This is episode 78 of the Fire Protection Podcast, powered by Inspect Point. Today, my guest is Lee Kaiser. He's the VP of Engineering and Training at ORR Protection in Louisville, Kentucky. Known Lee a long time. I think he's been on the podcast a few times as well. Kind of one of the industry legends, and a lot of knowledge coming out of him through the associations, through the NFPA committees. So ORR is really geared toward the mission critical and special hazard side of our industry with data centers, utilities, oil and gas, and anything kind of specialty. So those are really neat projects to talk about with him. Really want to pick his brain on a variety of different technical committees and, what are different problems within the industry, for labor and just different high challenge fires. So it was great to catch up with Lee and learn a little bit more about what ORR is doing. And here's the podcast. Thanks again for subscribing. Thanks. Lee, how's it going this nice spring day?
Great, Drew. It's a nice day today. It's in the 60s, sunny. It's a great day.
That's great. Yeah, we got the horse. We talked about this when we saw each other in Florida. We got the horse races coming down your way here in the next month or so, right?
Yeah. So we're already having some conversations about Derby, and in Louisville, the 2 weeks leading up to Derby, they have racing, but it was the Derby Festival. That'll be kicked off with a really big fireworks show here in April. So my kids are already, Dad, are we going to go to the show? And they'll want to go see that for sure. There's an air show during the day, and then big fireworks on the river at night. So yeah, and then a couple weeks of fancy outfits and bourbon roses, and then we'll have the big day.
That's fun. We're actually, my wife's cousin's getting married the last weekend in April, so we'll be in Lexington, which is, we're going to try to get over to Keeneland at some point. But I didn't know it was this couple week long thing.
Oh yeah,
down there. So we're trying to rearrange our schedule to see more of the horse racing and just the excitement down there.
It's until I moved to Louisville, I didn't really pay attention, but now it's cultural here, and I really enjoy it. A lot of people that travel into town, if you land at the airport, the Louisville airport that week, it's super busy, but everywhere you look out on the any space they can, they've got private jets.
Oh man,
for people that are in town, and it's a spectacle of another way of living.
Yeah, I bet. And the funny part is where this year and last year, where I grew up in upstate New York, the Belmont's being held in Saratoga. Yeah, and that's where I grew up, and that's where the company Inspect Point's based too, up that way. So it's I'm going to try to get up there this year. We're going to try to go up, and that's it's a similar kind of older track, right?
Yeah.
Than like the Belmont and the Preakness. So it's a shorter track, so it's not like the Belmont, but excited for the season to get kicked off here.
Yeah.
Well, I know we saw each other at the FSSA. Is there what is going on? Yeah, I guess we know each other really well. Let the audience know who Lee Kaiser is and what ORR Protection's all about.
Sure. I've been on your podcast before. I think this is my third time.
Yes.
The circuit. So I worked for ORR Protection, and ORR is a fire protection contractor. We're a nationwide U.S. based fire protection contractor. We're headquartered in Louisville, Kentucky, but we've got offices throughout the U.S., like maybe 15 locations, I think, in growing, and that's nice. I I wear a lot of different hats anymore. I came here just in engineering. I'm a fire protection engineer, but I picked up, you know, a few more areas, which is really interesting. Um, and I also have some industry involvement things that I do for the company to make sure that OR is contributing to the fire protection industry. And so um, I sit on the board of directors for the Fire Suppression Systems Association because OR is heavily focused on non-water based extinguishing systems.
Mhm.
Um, and we also do fire alarm systems and sprinkler systems, depending on where, that varies throughout the country a little bit with sprinkler. Um, but FSSA board of directors, I'm the FSSA technical committee chair, because I'm, more on the technical side of things.
Yep.
And then I sit on four different NFPA technical committees. I chair NFPA 75, the data center, more or less a data center
Oh,
standard.
nice.
But then NFPA 200 is the hanging and bracing standard. 418 is vertiports, heliports, which is an odd one a little
Yeah.
bit. I was inspired to join that through a conversation that was had years ago. And then 915. So,
Yep.
which is remote inspections and tests. So, which we sit on together.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that I do in that. I think in the future I would like to get involved more in SFPE
Yep.
too, and as our sprinkler business grows, I've thought about a FSA.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yeah. There's some great associations out there, and um, I'm on we're on 915 together, which is it's been and that was the first one I've ever been on. I'm on NFPA 25 now, but 915 is kind of evolved a little bit, right? And it came out, I think, a little bit before the pandemic and everything. So, which probably helped. I just don't know, love your opinion to see where the whole remote inspection and testing, the standards there, but what are we doing with it?
well, I mean, I think it's the framework for how it can be done.
Right.
It is the minimum, you know, here's what you need to have as a minimum to be able to do it, but it's not the actual solution.
Right.
So, in we went through a little bit of an evolution because I think the Standards Council at NFPA set out for it really just to be remote inspections.
Yep.
How does an AHJ use technology to, or it doesn't have to be technology, but how can they remotely inspect a project?
Yep.
And that word inspection can mean different things to different people. It does mean different things. So we're a fire protection contractor. We install systems and service systems. When we say service, we mean inspection, testing, and maintenance in the sense that it's in the system standards.
Right.
But a building inspector means a different thing. Like,
Exactly.
they're both inspections, but for them, they're making sure that you can get a building permit, or
Right.
what you've said in the building permit is what you're really doing, or the workmanship is done and they're keeping the public safe. But it's a different intent for their inspections. And so setting up that, they were setting up for that type of inspection, I think, at the beginning of that document. And, we did get it changed to change the title inspections and tests.
Right.
And, my intent really for that document, if I was seeing where the world could go, is, how do we remotely test these systems?
Yep.
And I mean, the system, not just, hey, the installation of the building, but the systems that are in the building where we need ongoing inspection, testing, and maintenance. How do we do that with less people more automatically, more in real time, so
Yep.
that we can catch problems and get them corrected. So,
Yep.
it, I wish almost we had two different words for inspection, because it is, but we don't have that in the English language. But
Right.
it really mean the intent of inspection in that document was two different things. Nonetheless, a lot of the framework of how you would do it with technology is the same. So,
Right.
um, and where I think where it needs where I'd like to see it go, in addition to all the building inspector HJ stuff, but eventually, you know, let's set the framework for what can we trust for a remote inspection, or systems that self inspect or
Right.
self test and then give reports out, and such that then once it's been tested, if there is a problem, a qualified person can go out and repair it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think when we get there, we will. And it's going to. I mean, that will take a long time to not only get the technology there, but to then get those systems installed in buildings, so that we can change a lot of things. Like
Yeah.
we have to reduce the amount of false alarms in this country, and probably worldwide, but definitely this country, where we have so many buildings with alarm systems where some of those things are due to misrepair,
Hmm.
or systems that have had are problem systems. With systems that can self-test, and they ultimately save the owner some money on their inspection and testing contract, that they can
Yep.
put that money to the repair of those systems.
Yep.
So, we if we can lower the burden on the fire departments, ultimately will lower the burden on taxpayers.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
think that's one place that we can go, and we can always. It's popular as contractors to talk about the labor shortage, but
Hmm.
that's out there in all kinds of things. I mean, fire departments, um, I, believe it or not, some fire departments struggle to get people to come on, and they have to lower their
Yeah.
standards to get people to be able to join.
Right.
And that's ultimately, lowering standards is not good for anyone.
No.
So we, contractors aren't the only ones that struggle with labor, but yet we do. And so if we can um, focus on getting to the point where we can have systems that can take some of the labor load off
Yep.
for them to exist and be checked properly, then we can um, use our labor resources just to repair them and keep them running, because these things break. There's just
Yep.
no doubt about it. They break, and things happen to them in buildings, or I mean, there's all kinds of stories about things that happen to fire alarm devices, to sprinkler systems, other things, to get them to be broken and not work. And then, um, you know, we ultimately we want to fix it as much as we can, but we just know that there are building owners out there that don't want to necessarily get things fixed. So
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And you brought up the point of remotely testing. I think there's a big opportunity to remotely monitor, right? And not with the central station monitoring or anything, but why aren't these fire protection systems being just data monitored, right? Where we can grab pressure, we can grab different parts where it's not testing the system, but it's at least grabbing data to give us knowledge of like, hey, what is actually happening over time. Um, and it's maybe not the fire alarm systems; it's usually the sprinkler suppression down the line of like, can we grab data there and be smarter about when we send those technicians out instead of you know, and that'll get into frequencies at some point and hopefully alter the standards once we know more about these systems.
yeah, I mean, it should probably is pretty obvious to your audience, but the reason we have, you know, biannual or more inspections and tests of systems is because they sit there unused
Yep.
until there's a fire, right?
Right.
In other building systems, you know, uh, every time the things are uncomfortable from a temperature perspective, well, then
Yeah.
somebody calls the person in charge of the building.
Right.
It says, "Hey, my office is cold,
Yeah.
and or it's too hot in here," and so it's real time that the occupants are kind of like your inspectors,
Yeah.
but uh, you know, nonetheless, even I can think it. I don't happen to have a smart thermostat at my house, but I've been thinking about that. Like one of the things I've been thinking about doing is getting a Wi-Fi enabled thermostat so I can see what's
Oh yeah.
happening in my house and know about it ahead of time
Yeah.
and then deal with it before there's a problem in any other business. That sensor technology and monitoring and sending that data to somebody that can do something about it is where we need to go in fire protection systems, and it's where all the other building systems are headed.
Yeah. 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 We had a Google Nest at another property, and that we is Vermont property, and we rented out and stuff, and the tenants or whatever must have shut down the thermostat, right? And for some reason the Wi-Fi was off, but if the Wi-Fi was on, that would have alerted us saying, "Hey, they shut down the heat," right? And we could have prevented. Luckily, it didn't go below freezing, but if it did, we would have had a huge issue, right? So, um, and I did you see the technology I brought up at FSSA, the electrical IoT device that monitors your kind of wiring in your house?
Yeah, we didn't get to talk about that because there was so much else going on, but um, devices like that, I'd seen that through our local electricity energy provider,
Oh wow.
and I can't recall if it was the same brand or not. It seemed like it was, and it's offered to you. I tried to get one for my house, but believe it or not, the website, it just wasn't that clear. I couldn't navigate the website to sign up, and so I wasn't able to get a device. And you bringing that up, hey, I'd forgotten about it.
Yeah.
You bringing that up made me kind of inspired to go back and try another time on the website and try to get that for a house. So I think
Well,
that, I mean, they say it's either electrical or mice with matches setting houses
right.
on fire. So
Yeah.
let's that would be one way to take care of the electrical and let you know
Well, it's
there's
funny,
diff-
like insurance companies, and then on the HVAC side, the utility companies, they're pushing these IoT and remote monitored devices for your power, your HVAC and your electricity, right? And the insurance just gave it to us, right? They sent I got an email, hey, do you want this IoT fire? And it said the future of fire safety on it, right? And I was like, I have to do it if it says that. So it's been great. I get a weekly report of like, hey, how the power's doing, and eventually we'll as houses become more electrified with electric vehicles and backup generators, I think that'll be more of a thing moving forward. And um,
even just aging wire. It,
yes, yeah,
I mean, my house I've caught my house was built in the 90s, and I have caught some aluminum wire in my house, so it needs to come out. It was on a frankly, it was on a higher amperage feed over to an oven. Everything
hmm
else is copper, but
right,
I happened to see that this one was aluminum, and it's like, you know, that stuff. I Not much keeps me up at night, but that one thing, it says, okay, you know, I hope that doesn't ever overheat and
right.
become a problem. So good point to probably even more reason for me to go to get one of those electric monitors for the house.
I know. I mean, all the big insurance guys, I think the State Farm is doing it, Nationwide's doing it, and there's a variety of other ones that are doing it now that they'll They're just giving it away because, I mean, if they can reduce, electrical fire risk, they'd be glad to do that with all the
Yeah,
stuff going on in insurance these days.
yeah, you bet.
A little back to OR. I know you guys are obviously big on the special protection scheme, high challenge fires, maybe not like a high, fire risk, but like, data centers and oil and gas. And I guess, is there a new trend toward different high challenge fires that you guys are looking at, and there's different industries popping up?
Well, we focus on, our tagline is mission critical fire protection experts. And so
Mhm.
we, frankly, we'll do fire protection systems in any type of building. It's not like um, we're not going to say no to anything, but there are certain buildings that can use our systems and services in our expertise more than others. And so
Yep.
we tend to focus on those vertical markets, and data centers is one of them. Telecommunications is another. And, big picture, I see the functions of those two different building types, which really used to be separated by, in a data center, you processed and stored data. In a telecommunications building, you handled communications and let that information or data flow through it on a path to a data center. But um, those two are really blending, and telco buildings are having more data center uses inside
Hmm.
of them. There's more data processing occurring in them, and so that's one trend we see.
Hmm.
We see, real time, the growth in data processing for AI and other
Yep.
high performance computing needs is growing exponentially, and
Yep.
so we're very happy that we're already have a good footing in that
Yep.
market, and we are getting, we're growing with that market. Um, but that also, we've chosen a number of years to really focus on fire protection for power plants, and um, that there is a blending of power plant applications at data centers that's
Oh,
starting to
interesting.
occur now, because the the power usage demands for AI computing exceed what we can provide with our current electrical generating capacity
Gotcha.
country. So data center installations are being planned with power plants on premises.
Wow.
And so they're for us, that's, those are really two specialties that are coming together on similar sites. And that is not going to happen with, coal
Right.
or natural gas, and it's not going to be enough with solar and wind. And so what we see a future where small nuclear reactors are being placed at data center sites.
Yep.
And we are really, um, really interested in that, and really trying to be ready to be the fire protection provider for those situations. The and So those are a few of the things that we see happening out there. But there's a lot of work with renewables. Everybody is talking about lithium-ion batteries and their applications, and there's so many different ways to get involved in that
Right.
business. We've got involved in it in a big way, and that takes up a lot. I mean, there's that area needs a lot of expertise,
Yes. Yeah.
and we've been working really hard to be, a reliable provider for that expertise.
What
If
what
I,
what is your overall outlook on the lithium ion battery? I guess it's not protection, but it's more detection, right? Well, at least what I've heard is, I guess you can control it, but the best way for EV, or not EV, but lithium ion is detection, right? So are you guys focused more on the suppression or the detection side, or is it a combo?
Well, there we have a lot of spaces where we've provided suppression solutions, but we're not making any claims that
Yep.
the systems that we're providing can extinguish a battery fire.
Right.
So, but we have had there are a lot of electronics in energy storage containers. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when it's a battery container for used for whatever electrical technique, and we've seen several fires just in those electronics, and then that it goes back to traditional systems, clean agents, aerosols.
Yep.
Those systems work to extinguish those fires so they don't grow to involve the batteries. But when I would say that the current trend is when batteries are catching on fire, the general arrangement is just to let it burn and then try to have the installation of the batteries such that there's a limit to the loss of that,
Okay.
and it only grows so big, and it doesn't. So what we're really seeing is generally smaller packages of batteries, um, small cubes
Yep.
containing, one or two racks of batteries instead of 20 racks of batteries. And
Gotcha.
fire doesn't grow to involve 20 racks. It grows to involve just the two,
Sure.
and burns, and, it burns for a long time, but then it eventually goes out. And so most of the strategy is detection of the fire, of
Right.
the gases that come off the batteries, so that you know what's going on, and you can confirm remote from the cube
Yep.
what is actually burning. Is this a battery fire or not? And then respond appropriately, because you've got more success in extinguishing a non-battery fire. And along with that, there's these fire prevention systems, battery fire prevention systems. Um, uh, Fike has a system, and I've seen it, and I'm encouraged by it. Siemens has a nitrogen-based system,
Okay.
and I'm also, we've got some familiarity with that, and we're, those things are exciting. But the idea is early detection, apply the agent so that it doesn't get to the point where you're burning a lot of batteries.
Right. Right. Yeah, and it's interesting that the arrays of them are coming smaller, and that's obviously fire protection likes that, but also the whatever it's the utility owner or the property or electric owner at that point, it's a potential nice or it reduces the risk for them as well,
Yeah.
right? So that's
You
coming
know,
down from the insurer or even internal, right?
just recently there was another big fire at the Moss Landing battery site out in California.
Okay.
It was an old building, not an old building, but it was a decommissioned power plant building that has lots of lithium ion battery racks in it, and it was on fire. And there are a lot of people pointing to it as to that technology, how dangerous it is. But you've got to understand that that installation wasn't first gen installation of lithium ion batteries, and current current battery systems going in are a lot safer. No
Yep.
one's saying they're not going to catch on fire,
Right. Right.
because that's what we found. Even the batteries that are claimed to be fire safe are not fire safe. They all
Yep.
catch on fire.
Yep.
But we install them as such a way that the consequences of the fire is less.
Mm-hmm.
But the last Moss Landing fire, it was Gen 1, and it was a big fire.
Yeah.
And that's how we build them, to have big fires.
Right.
And I think what the what at least, the country has to realize is it's not the only installation like that. We need to go back retroactively
Sure.
through the code enforcement process and bring those old installations up to snuff so
Yep.
that those aren't um, big fires. And, these fires can't be good. I mean, no matter, even though we have a let it burn strategy that we see out there, that can't be good for the environment. And
No.
especially not when it's a really um, big installation, a number of batteries burning. That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So,
Yeah, I don't think there's a solution yet, but the electrification of society is not going away. I think there are tremendous benefits to it. It's just we've got this potential fire problem that keeps popping, and obviously we're in front of that, right? Because we're in the
yeah,
fire industry. But I think overall, it will continue, and I think, um, it's just going to progress, and we just got to be ahead of it with installations and how the grids are set up.
yeah, yeah.
So, back to Orla. I know you guys are huge national footprint in everything, and probably do you guys go international at all? A little bit.
Um, Usually under duress.
Clients like, yeah, please go to Argentina for us.
So we do some of it. I think in the long term, we would like to grow to do that, but currently it's not a major strategy for
Yeah,
us to do
yeah,
international work. So
yeah. There's
plenty of
probably plenty.
other companies in the U.S. that are happy to go do that. But we focus on the United States. We have customers in every state, but we self, uh, do you have subcontractors do that? Or we have a big network of subcontractors, but we self-perform in about 34 states in the U.S. So we've grown well, and in that our organizational structure and who we hire and what where we hire is kind of built for that, to cover all those states. And when you're a special hazards focused company, the types of facilities that have the systems that your people are good at working on aren't on every corner.
Right.
So not like, we're not the average fire protection company that can go and take over service, down a whole block, get every building in the block.
Yep.
That's not who we are. We are, very focused on some key industries, and we try to sell into those spaces, and those tend to be pretty spread out. So that's our strategy.
With that national network, I know, there's a lot of M&A happening within the market now, right? And I feel like with the M&A, it's like they're picking up different companies throughout the country, different, whether it's privately owned or if it's, maybe regionally owned. I know there's trouble trying to get that standardization, and I know you guys are different in that capacity because you're a national network, right? So how is there challenges with that and trying to keep that methodology the same from California to Maine to Florida?
It for Yes, absolutely, and that is a focus. We try for our customers. We want to have them to have the same experience with their local OR office, whether it's here in Louisville or it's in Atlanta, or if it's in San Francisco. We want a similar experience, so we invest a lot in things that help bring standardization to the company. So we have been since the 90s. We're an ISO 9001 certified company, and basically that means that we have um, a quality management system
Yep.
that has been certified to this
Yep.
certain standard. And so, and what that helps deliver in the company is standardized processes, and so that you get a similar experience because
Mhm.
with a lot of our growth has come with seeking out to do business with other companies that have multiple locations in multiple states.
Yep.
And we want to be able to deliver a very similar level of service wherever they're at in the country. And so we focus a lot on that, and that takes a lot of effort. And we've grown to this point. A lot of that organically. We've done some acquisitions, and that continues to be part of our strategy. But we really have focused a lot on organic growth, and we're good at hiring. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a secret to our success. Is we've got a great HR team that really goes out and helps us hire good talent, and we often bring in somebody really talented in operations or in sales, and then we'll build around them, and that's how we grow organically.
Yep. Yeah, I was at the New York Fire Alarm Show the other day, and I saw your Wes, and I think it was David up there, and I
Yeah.
was asking them some questions of, because I've known Orr for my entire fire career, but obviously I know more now with everything going on, and I was asking him like, hey, where are you pulling your technicians from for data center projects or whatever, and he's like, oh, this is all internal, and we cover the Northeast, and that that has probably there's a likability factor to that too, because you get to travel a little bit either regionally as a technician, and you're working on really cool projects, right?
Mhm.
And again, you guys have created a great culture for that, and yeah, interesting work too, right?
Yeah, I mean, we know that our technicians have to travel a lot. There's no way around it. Any technician in a special hazards company of any size is going to
Yep.
travel a lot.
Yep.
Um, but when you do special hazards, you're working on neat projects and
Yep.
in neat buildings. How about that? You're working in neat buildings,
Yeah.
and generally, um, they value what you're doing for them because they either know the risk of a fire or they've experienced fires, and they know what you're doing is helping them to minimize the effects of the next fire, and so that you're generally well liked, they just from what you're doing for them. um, but we focus on work-life balance. We as a leader or that is part of our every conversation that we have,
Hmm.
when we're making decisions on policy or this change or that change, how is that going to affect our our workforce,
Hmm.
and we we want a engaged workforce that likes to come to work and do a great job for our customers every day and a good job for the company. And so we focus on that work life balance. We know that that's really important. And people say they have a family atmosphere. Our leaders, we want to know what's going on in people's families, from not from a creepy perspective, but just from
Yeah.
a supportive
Right.
perspective.
Yep.
And um, that's that's important to us. And I think we've done a really good job, really led by the Orr family.
Hmm.
We're still privately owned, and the Orr family, they really care about the people that work for them. And so yeah, that it's been important to me and my family, and I know it's important to a lot of others that work here.
Yeah, it's great to have that. Like, there's not many. Like, I posted about it recently of just like the mergers and acquisition side, and the privately owned. I mean, you guys are a national company, privately owned, probably I would say the largest, if at least the national network side. Um, anyway, you should be proud of that, and anybody working there should be proud of that.
We definitely are.
So any, I got a couple out of the box questions. Is there any other topics you wanted to hit before we got out of here?
I'm not going to bring any extra up and make it any longer.
We'll do it again. I'm sure, once, there's, again, there's like three more topics here I wanted to cover, but, try to clip this up in the best possible for our listeners. Um, out of the technical committees that you're on, or I guess, just different committees with associations, what's your favorite?
Um, well, the FSSA's technical committee is probably my favorite.
Okay.
I know those people well. We meet 3 times a year, um, no matter what, and we tend to do it. Well, the committee itself tends to do it in person. So that's we get to be friends.
Hmm.
We do know about it. There's a family atmosphere there too, frankly, that is helped a lot by the FSSA forum, which is a nice
Yep.
event, and
Yep.
um, often people will bring their better half with them, and so you get to know a little bit of their family, and that's neat. There's a lot of intentional networking time at
Yep.
those events, and that's good too. Same with the meetings throughout the year.
Yep.
So I really like the FSSA. Um, Second to that, um, I really like the data center
Hmm.
NFPA 5 standard,
Yeah.
and because I like to go to dinner with some of those people when we have those meetings, but you don't have those meetings as often because
Right.
of the cycles.
Right.
Uh, FSSA is every year, 3 times a year, no matter what. And but I like it really because of the work it's doing, what it represents. You know, uh, Keeping data centers safe from fire and minimizing the effects of fire is important to society.
Yes.
I think about what's enabling us to have this conversation at
Yeah.
distance
Right.
today and save it and
Yeah.
get it processed and then host it and deliver it later. Well, all that matters. It matters
Right.
to you and to your business and ultimately to your family, and it matters to me too. And where we have had examples in the world recently of large data center fires, it they cause big outages
Sure.
and they cost a lot of money, and resources are precious. And so I just think about that. I think about um, all the neat things that we're going to be able to do in society, not just neat, but all the valuable things we'll be able to do in society. Wait until we get to, autonomous. I mean, we've got autonomous vehicles,
Yeah.
um, but wait until service drones are flying over
Oh, I know.
us to do things. I mean, all those are supported by computing someplace
Yeah.
that needs support, and we don't want fires to take out that service. I like I think about my aging parents, like how to when they can't get out to go get a prescription, getting that prescription to them easy.
Right.
That it's enabled today in driving, but it could be a drone,
Right.
and that it could happen even faster. Um, the 75 standard supports the
All
systems
that.
that help make that possible. And then, um, you know, AI, I'm sure you use AI in your everyday. I've really worked to do that so that I can get some time back, you
Yeah.
know, like if it makes me work one less hour a day,
Right.
that's a good thing,
Yeah.
and we want that for everybody. So maybe we can have some hobbies.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I presented about that in at the FSA forum this year, and it was you gave a great shout out in the middle of it. By the way, everybody enjoyed that about
Good.
PDF. So
Yeah, yeah,
that was great.
yeah. We're
Um,
gonna bring that up here.
yeah. Yeah. I know. Right. But yeah, it's affecting everybody's life, and people are worried about it. But as long as And worry is good. It means we're putting the right safeguards in place. So I think it will help overall. And yeah, everything behind that is a data center, right? And it's the small nuclear reactor that's powering that data center. Um, so I'm really curious to see how that's going to go, and maybe nuclear even takes off more than it has. So
I think it's going to have to
yeah.
until we figure out, other sources. So yeah,
One more quick. Again, I mentioned our trip to the Kentucky, Louisville, and Lexington. Is there one distillery that we should hit along the way?
I I now I've not been to any distilleries in Lexington. If you come to Louisville, one I've went to recently is Rabbit Hole. It's
Okay.
in downtown Louisville. It's a good tour, a very hands-on tour, and you can really understand the process of the engineer in me gets excited about looking at the process and all that stuff. And then they've got a really great, really elegant tasting at the end. So yeah, I would recommend the Rabbit Hole tour.
All right. Well, I'll have to tag them in this, and maybe they can share the fire protection podcast too.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Lee, for doing this, and I'm sure I'll see you probably at an NFPA or one of these other events coming up.
Yeah, you bet. Drew, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again. This has been episode 78 of the Fire Protection Podcast, powered by Inspect Point. Want to thank Lee Kaiser again from ORR Protection. Feel free to find him on LinkedIn or Protection Systems. Just quick Google search or protection.com. Anyway, thanks again for listening to the podcast, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.